parallel lines cut by a transversal line. Let's look at some definitions. Your parallel lines are going to be lines that have the same plane that never intersect, kind of like railroad track lines do. Transversal line is a line that intersects two or more lines. It cuts right through it. Congruent angles are going to be angles with the same measure, so they're going to be equal to each other. Corresponding angles are going to be any pair of angles that have the same relative position at each intersection where a straight line crosses two others. For example, same location on a different figure. And we talk about corresponding angles. So if I'm talking about my right ear, we're talking about a corresponding part on somebody else's body would be their right ear. 5. An alternate interior angles are non-adjacent. They are not side by side. Interior angles, meaning on the inside, that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. Transversal meaning the line that cuts through the two lines. Let's look at the alternate exterior angles. These are also non-adjacent. They are not side by side. They are exterior angles, so they are on the outside of your parallel lines that lie on the opposite sides of the transversal. The same side interior angles are angles that lie on the same side of the transversal between the other two lines. So if we're looking at a conjecture, we're going to be talking about how can we make conclusions based on something that we've already observed. So for example, you have two parallel lines here. Your exterior angles are going to be these angles on the outside of your parallel lines. This is your transversal line. Your interior angles are going to be the angles that are on the inside of your parallel lines. Okay? And we're going to talk about congruent. These two are going to be, we've already talked about vertical angles, so they are going to be congruent 2 and 4, 6 and 8, and we're going to go through some of these and list them in just a minute when we come back to this. Very important concept number 1, and you need to make sure that you get this. All alternate exterior, alternate interior, and corresponding angles and vertical angles are congruent, or they're equal to each other. Very important concept number 2. Same side interior angles are going to be supplementary, meaning that the two together, added together, will equal 180 degrees. Very important concept number 3. All linear pairs are supplementary, or they're going to be what? Side by side and equal to 180 degrees. All right, let's do some identification of these angles. If I want to find alternate exterior angles, an alternate exterior angle, first of all, we know exterior angles are going to be these on the outside of the parallel lines. And alternate exterior means, 1 and 7 are going to be on opposite sides of the transversal line. So my first alternate exterior angles are going to be 1 and 7, and don't forget they are going to be congruent. So 7 and 1 have the same measure, and 8 and 2 will have the same measure. So 2 and 8 are also alternate exterior angles. Let's look at the alternate interior angles. Alternate means they're on either side, on opposite sides of the transversal. They are also going to be interior, which means they're inside of your parallel lines. So what is opposite of 3, or on the opposite side of 3, is going to be 5. So angles 3 and 5 are alternate on either side of the transversal, and interior on the inside of the parallel lines. And 4 and 6 are also going to be alternate interior angles. Do not forget, these are also corresponding, so they will have the same angle measurements. All right, let's look at corresponding angles. If I've got corresponding angles, I'm looking at which one has on a different figure has the same side. If I'm talking about my ear, my right ear, we're talking about your right ear. So if I'm looking at these four angles, the one that is corresponding to one would look just like these four angles, and that would be 5. So 1 and 5 would be corresponding angles. 2 and this is going to be on the outside, so 2 and 6 are going to be corresponding angles. 4 and 8 are going to be corresponding angles, okay? And 3 and 7 are going to be corresponding angles. And do not forget, they are also, if you look at 3 and 7, they will have the same measurement. All of them have the same measurements. Now, let's look at vertical angles. Vertical angles, like we said, are like the kissing fish. They're going to be across from each other. So if I look at angle 1, the one that is kissing it right here in the middle and directly across from it is going to be 3. So 1 and 3 are going to be vertical angles. Just like 2 and 4 are kissing each other, and that's going to be 2 and 4, 5 and 7, 6 and 8, and do not forget, these are also going to be congruent or the same measurement. These are called same side interior angles. Same side interior. Remember, interior is on the inside of the parallel line. So we're talking about 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Same side interior angles are going to be those like what is on the same side of the transversal. We're looking at the just 3, 4, 5, and 6. What is on the same side of the transversal as 4 is going to be 5, so that's going to be 4. Let me get another marker. This one is about dried up. So this one is going to be 4, 5. Much better. And 3 and 6. Okay, and these are not going to be, if you look at 4 and 5, these are not going to be equal to each other, but they will add up to be 180 degrees or supplementary. All right, if we look at linear pairs, these are two angles side by side that have to equal to 180 degrees. So let's look at the linear pairs that we have. Here's a pair of angles when added together will make up a line. So 1 and 2 are going to be a linear pair. 3 and 4 are also a linear pair. 5 and 6 will be a linear pair because they are side by side and they equal to 180 degrees. 7 and 8 are a linear pair. If I look at 1 and 4, these also make a linear pair. So we have a lot of linear pairs in this particular example. 2 and 3 will add together to make a 180 degree angle. So 2 and 3 is a linear pair. 5 and 8 will be a linear pair because together, added together, they make a line, 180. And 6 and 7 will also be a linear pair. And you need to understand what all of these equal to so we can do some important, we can figure missing angles like we're going to do on our next video. Okay? Let's do some applications. Same kind of example that you had, except this time we're looking at the measure of angle 2 is 45 degrees. 75 degrees. So if this is 75 degrees, and I've got the wrong marker, if angle 2 is 75 degrees, and I want to know what angle 6 is, remember these are complementary angles. They're on the same side with a different figure, so angle 6 would have to be 75 degrees because they are corresponding. Look at number 2. It says the measure of 3 is going to be 2x plus 1, And the angle, measure angle of angle 4 is going to be 4x minus 1, okay? Find x and the measure of angles 3 and 4. So I've got to do 3 things here. First of all, I know that 3 and 4 are a linear pair because they are beside each other and they are going to make a 180-degree line. So if I add these two together, they're also called supplementary. I can say 2x plus 1 plus the 4x minus 1 has got to equal to 180 degrees. So I now have to add like terms. 2x and 4x is 6x. 1 minus 1 is 0, so that's going to give me 180. So only 6x equals 180, and when I divide 6 into both, x is going to become 30 degrees. Now, I found that what x equals. I know that x equals 30 degrees, but now it wants to know what is angle 3. So I'm going to say 2 times, in the place of x, I am going to put in 30 plus 1, and I know that 2 times 3 is 60 plus 1. This is going to be 61 degrees. Now I want to find out the degree of angle 4. So I'm going to say 4 times 30 minus 1. 4 times 30 is 120, minus 1 is going to be 119. When I add 61 to 119, I should get 180 degrees. So let's add that together. 190 plus 61 is going to be 180 degrees. So it checks, so therefore angle 4 is 119, angle 3 is 61, and I've already know that my x value is 30.